In the misty heights of Montana's Bitterroot Valley, where the peaks pierce the sky like old knives and the wind whispers secrets through the pines, a man like Jackson thought he'd buried his ghosts for good. Reckon he was wrong. 5 years back, he was a CIA agent, facing the toughest call of his life. Save the country from a terrorist plot or save his 19-year-old daughter caught in the crossfire. He chose the mission, and she paid the price. That phoenix tattoo on his arm, a dang reminder of the fire that consumed his world. His ex-wife, shattered by grief, lost her mind and vanished with her gangster daddy, leaving Jackson to ride alone as the old lone rider seeking peace in these rugged hills. But folks, them shadows from the past ain't ones to stay buried. They come creeping back, and when they do, they bring hell with them, guns blazing and hearts cold as the mountain frost. Jackson sat on his porch, the Bitterroot Valley stretching out like a green ocean under the twilight sky. His black chopper, chrome gleaming like a polished blade, rested by the cabin, its long handlebars catching the last rays of the setting sun. He sipped coffee, the steam curling in the cool air, his scarred leather jacket creaking as he leaned back. The phoenix tattoo on his forearm itched like it knew something he didn't. 5 years of solitude in these pine forests, riding zigzag roads, trading stories with locals at the diner. Reckon he'd earned some peace. But the mountains don't forgive, and neither do some folks. A low rumble broke the silence, not thunder, but engines. Headlights pierced the fog rolling down the valley, 4 jeeps tearing up the dirt path to his cabin. Jackson's eyes narrowed. Trouble don't come announced in these parts. He set the mug down, hand sliding to the revolver tucked in his belt. "Who's hooting and hollering out here?" he muttered, squinting into the dusk. The lead jeep skidded to a stop, and 6 masked gunmen spilled out, their boots crunching gravel like bones underfoot. "End of the line, old man," one snarled, voice muffled but sharp as a rattler's bite. Bullets tore through the cabin door, splintering wood and shattering the quiet. Jackson dove behind his chopper, heart pounding but hands steady as steel. CIA training don't fade, even at 60. The phoenix tattoo burned under his sleeve like it sensed the fight. He yanked his revolver from the saddlebag, firing 2 quick shots that dropped the closest attacker with a grunt. The man's mask slipped, revealing a scar Jackson swore he'd seen before, some ghost from his past. No time to reckon. Another bullet pinged off the chopper's fender, grazing the chrome. "Darn fools," Jackson growled, twisting the throttle. The bike roared to life, a beast wakened from slumber, its engine echoing off the valley walls like a war cry. He peeled out, tires spitting dirt, heading for the zigzag roads winding up the mountain. The jeeps roared behind, their lights bouncing like wolves' eyes in the fog. Pine branches whipped past, scratching at his jacket as he leaned into a sharp turn. A bullet whizzed by, splintering a tree trunk. Too close. Jackson spotted a narrow trail veering off the main road, barely wide enough for his chopper. "Reckon we'll see who's faster," he muttered, gunning the engine. The chopper's headlights sliced through the mist, revealing jagged rocks and a drop-off that'd make a man's heart quit. Jackson swerved, dodging a boulder as the jeeps gained ground. One gunman leaned out, firing wild, bullets kicking up dirt. Jackson reached into his jacket, pulling a smoke grenade from his old ops days. Some habits die hard. He tossed it back, and a gray cloud swallowed the road. The jeep screeched, losing him in the haze. He pulled into a thicket of evergreens, killing the engine, breath heavy but quiet. The jeeps rumbled past, cursing in the distance. Jackson checked the ground. A dropped wallet from the fallen gunman, holding a badge with a logo he knew too well. A front company from his CIA days. But why now? And why here? The fog thickened, and a new engine growled. Another chopper, not his own, circling closer. Jackson gripped his revolver. They weren't done hunting him yet. The fog clung to the Bitterroot Valley like a ghost that wouldn't quit, wrapping the pines in a shroud as Jackson crouched in the evergreen thicket. His chopper sat silent, its chrome dulled by the mist. But the roar of that other bike, sharp and hungry, echoed down the zigzag roads. He clutched the stolen wallet, the badge inside burning a hole in his thoughts. That old CIA front company, Eagle's Claw, was tied to the mission that cost him his daughter. 5 years back, he'd chosen to stop a terrorist bomb over saving her, and the guilt still gnawed like a coyote on a bone. But this attack, it felt personal, like someone knew exactly where to find him. Jackson's eyes scanned the trail, his breath steady despite the cold seeping through his scarred leather jacket. The phoenix tattoo on his arm pulsed like it was trying to warn him. He slipped the wallet into his pocket and crept toward the road's edge, where the cliff dropped into a sea of pines below. The enemy chopper's growl faded, but the jeeps were back, their headlights slicing through the fog like knives. "Darn it," he muttered. "These fellas don't quit easy." He needed answers, and the only place to get them was Rusty's Diner, a half-mile down the valley where locals swapped more than just coffee. He fired up his chopper, the engine's rumble cutting through the silence like a thunderclap. The zigzag roads were treacherous, slippery with dew, curves tight as a noose, and cliffs that'd swallow a man whole. Jackson leaned low, the chopper hugging every turn, its headlight dancing across the pines. Behind him, the jeeps roared back into pursuit, engines screaming like banshees. A bullet grazed his shoulder, stinging like a hornet, but he gritted his teeth and pushed harder. The road narrowed, gravel spitting under his tires as he dodged a fallen branch. One jeep misjudged a turn, skidding toward the cliff's edge. Tires screeched, and the vehicle vanished into the void with a crash that echoed like a warning. Jackson hit the brakes, sliding into a shadowed bend near the diner. The neon sign flickered ahead, buzzing Rusty's in red and yellow, a lone beacon in the fog. He stashed the chopper behind a stack of crates and slipped inside, the bell jingling as he pushed through the door. Hank, the old diner owner, looked up from wiping the counter, his weathered face creasing with concern. "You look like you tangled with a grizzly, buddy," Hank said, pouring a coffee. Jackson slid onto a stool, keeping one eye on the window. "Reckon I did, Hank. You hear any hootin' and hollerin' about strangers in the valley? Gangsters, maybe?" Hank's eyes darted away just for a second before he leaned in. "Talk's been circlin'. Folks say a crew's sniffing round old caves under your land. Something about buried tech, high-value stuff." Jackson's gut twisted. His cabin sat over a network of caves, old mining tunnels from the gold rush days. Could that be the target? He pulled out the wallet, showing Hank the badge. "Eagle's Claw. Mean anything to you?" Hank's face paled, and he busied himself with a rag. "Heard it years back. Shady outfit. You sure you ain't stirred up old enemies, Jackson?" The ex-agent's mind raced. Eagle's Claw was a front for his last mission, the one that took his daughter. But why now? He sipped the coffee, bitter as his thoughts, when a new clue landed hard. A crumpled note in the wallet scrawled with wife's orders, and the Ryder, his ex-wife. She'd gone mad after their daughter's death, blaming him for choosing duty. But leading a hit? No way. Hank cleared his throat, glancing at the door. "You best mosey, Jackson. Them boys'll be back." As if on cue, headlights swept the diner's windows, jeeps pulling up outside. Jackson's hand tightened on his revolver, but Hank grabbed his arm. "Back door now. I'll stall him." Jackson nodded, trusting the old man, but feeling a prick of doubt. Hank's nervous glance wasn't sitting right. He slipped out, the fog swallowing him as he reached his chopper. The jeep's doors slammed, voices barking orders. A woman's voice cut through, cold and sharp, too familiar. Jackson froze, heart pounding like a drum. Was she here? Dawn broke over the Bitterroot Valley, painting the green pines in golden light and chasing away the night's shadows, most of them anyhow. Jackson had ridden hard through the fog, his chopper hugging the zigzag roads like an old friend, until he looped back to his ransacked cabin. The place looked like a twister had hit it. Furniture overturned, floorboards pried up, drawers emptied like someone was hunting for buried treasure. He stepped careful, his boots creaking on the splintered wood, revolver at the ready. The phoenix tattoo on his arm tingled like it sensed something lurking below. He knelt by the loose floorboard near the hearth, the one he'd nailed shut years ago. Prying it open with his knife, a dark opening yawned, a hidden entrance to the old mining caves running under the valley. "Dang if this ain't the key," he muttered, grabbing a flashlight from his saddlebag. The beam cut through the dust, revealing a rickety ladder descending into the earth. Jackson climbed down, the air turning cool and damp, smelling of moss and forgotten time. The cave walls glistened with moisture, roots from the pines above poking through like fingers grasping for secrets. Deeper in, the flashlight danced on something metallic, a high-tech CIA device from that fatal mission 5 years back buried here to forget the nightmare. It was a sleek black box, humming faintly like it was alive, wires and screens glinting in the beam. Jackson's breath caught. This was the gadget he'd used to stop the terrorists, the one that cost his daughter her life. As he reached for it, his phoenix tattoo warmed, almost glowing in the dim light. "What in tarnation?" he whispered, feeling a connection he couldn't explain. Was this why they came? The device held data that could expose old betrayals, maybe even the real culprits behind the mission's failure. A noise echoed from above, footsteps crunching on gravel. Jackson clicked off the flashlight, plunging the cave into darkness, his heart pounding steady as he listened. Voices filtered down, muffled but urgent. "Boss said the old man's got it hidden here. Tear the place apart." Jackson gripped his revolver, reckoning this was no coincidence. He pocketed a small data chip from the device, leaving the box as bait, and slipped deeper into the tunnels, navigating by memory from his exploring days. Hank's voice carried from the entrance, breathing heavy as he descended. "Jackson? You down here, buddy?" The old diner owner appeared, flashlight sweeping the walls, his face etched with worry, or was it something else? "I followed you. Them gangsters are circling back. Reckon it's your pass, Jackson. Heard whispers of a gangster boss pulling strings. Her daddy's army, they say." Jackson's jaw tightened, stepping into the light. His ex-wife's father, a mobster who'd taken her away after the tragedy, blaming him for driving her mad. But leading this hunt? "You sure about that, Hank?" Jackson asked, eyeing the old man close. Hank nodded, but his hands shook a mite too much. Red herrings piled up, a fake CIA note left in the cabin pointing to old enemies from the agency, but this felt too personal. Jackson showed Hank the device. "This from my last operation. Someone wants it bad." Hank's eyes widened, but he glanced back toward the entrance. "We best mosey." "They're coming." They climbed out, Jackson tucking the chip away. Outside, the chopper waited, its engine ready to roar. They rode out together, winding through forest trails thick with pines, dodging patrols that seemed to know their every move. Jackson's mind raced. Was Hank clean, or was he feeding info to the shadows? A jeep blocked the bridge ahead, 10 gangsters waiting with guns drawn, their leader stepping forward with a sneer. Jackson revved the engine. The fight was on, and the clues were leading him straight into hell. The old wooden bridge creaked under the weight of the jeep blocking the way, its planks groaning like they knew the trouble coming. 10 gangsters fanned out, rifles glinting under the noon sun. Their leader, a burly fellow with a scar running down his cheek, spat on the ground and grinned. "Ain't no running now, Ryder," he growled, his voice carrying a menace that felt too damn personal. Jackson sat astride his chopper, its engine idling like a caged beast, chrome reflecting the pines like a mirror to the valley. Hank stood beside him, clutching a shotgun from the diner, his eyes darting between the gangsters and the road behind. Reckon we're in a tight spot, buddy, Hank muttered. But Jackson caught a quiver in his voice. Something wasn't sitting right. Jackson's mind churned, piecing together the clues. That note, wife's orders, and the Ryder, burned in his thoughts. His ex-wife, Clara, had cursed him when their daughter died, her grief twisting her mind till she fled with her gangster father. But organizing this, leading a crew to kill him, the thought stung worse than the bullet graze on his shoulder. The CIA badge, the device in the cave, it all pointed to his past, but red herrings kept clouding the truth. Was it agency rivals, or was Clara's pain driving this hunt? The phoenix tattoo on his arm pulsed, like it was trying to scream a warning. No time for thinking now. The gangsters raised their guns. "Darn right, y'all picked the wrong valley," Jackson said, voice low and steady. He gunned the chopper, tires screaming as he charged straight at the line. The leader's eyes widened, not expecting a 60-year-old to barrel forward like a bull. Jackson swerved at the last second, leaping off the bike as it skidded into two thugs, knocking them flat. He rolled to his feet, fists flying like his old SEAL days, dropping one man with a crack to the jaw. Hank fired his shotgun, scattering the rest, yelling, "Skedaddle, you hootin' fools!" The bridge shook as bullets flew, splinters exploding from the railings. Jackson wrangled a rifle from a downed thug, firing precise shots that sent three more diving for cover. But the leader was quick, drawing a knife and lunging at Jackson. The old agent sidestepped, grabbing the man's wrist and twisting till the blade clattered to the ground. "Who sent you?" Jackson growled, pinning him against the Jeep. The man spat, "You'll find out when you're dead." A glint caught Jackson's eye. A locket slipping from the thug's pocket, falling open to reveal a photo of his daughter, Lily, smiling at 19. His heart stopped. Clara's locket. She'd worn it every day till the tragedy. Was she close? Or was this another trick to mess with his head? Hank shouted, "Jackson, move!" A second Jeep roared onto the bridge, more gangsters piling out. Jackson released the leader, diving for his chopper as Hank laid down cover fire. They peeled out, the bridge creaking dangerously under the weight of the chase. The zigzag road stretched ahead, fog rolling in thick as soup, making every turn a gamble. Jackson leaned low, the chopper's roar echoing off the cliffs, its headlight barely cutting through the haze. Bullets whizzed past, one nicking his jacket, but he pushed harder, dodging a rock slide that tumbled down the slope. Nature itself seemed to be taking sides. They hit a narrow trail, pines closing in like sentinels. Jackson glanced at Hank, riding passenger now, his face pale. "You holding out on me, old man?" Jackson asked, voice hard. Hank shook his head, but his eyes flickered. "Just trying to help, buddy. Them gangsters been leaning on folks round here." Jackson didn't buy it fully. Hank's nervous tics were piling up like bad debts. The chase didn't let up, Jeeps gaining ground, their engines howling like wolves on the hunt. Jackson spotted a rickety suspension bridge ahead, swaying over a gorge. "Hold on, Hank," he growled, gunning the chopper across, the ropes groaning under the weight. On the other side, Jackson skidded to a stop, pulling a knife from his boot and slashing at the bridge's supports. The ropes frayed, and as the lead Jeep hit the bridge, it buckled, sending the vehicle crashing into the gorge below. The remaining gangsters hollered, firing wildly as the bridge collapsed, but a new sound cut through. A woman's voice, cold as ice, barking orders from a ridge above. Jackson's blood ran cold. It was Clara's voice, no doubt. How close was she to ending this herself? The Bitterroot Valley lay bathed in the pale glow of a crescent moon, its snow-capped peaks standing like silent judges over the chaos below. Jackson and Hank had ditched the chopper in a dense pine grove, slipping into a cave system that snaked beneath the mountains like the roots of some ancient beast. The air was heavy with damp earth and the faint tang of gunpowder. The walls slick with moss that glistened in the faint light seeping through cracks above. Jackson clutched the data chip from the CIA device. its weight heavier than the revolver at his hip. The phoenix tattoo on his arm burned like it was trying to claw its way out, sensing the truth was near. Clara's voice on that ridge, sharp, cold, and achingly familiar, had confirmed it. His ex-wife wasn't just alive, she was the storm coming for him. Jackson paused in the tunnel, turning to Hank, whose flashlight trembled in his grip. "No more games, old man," Jackson said, voice cutting like a blade. "You knew it was Clara, didn't you? Spill it or we're done." Hank's shoulders slumped, his weathered face crumpling like old leather. "Dang it, Jackson, I ain't proud. They threatened my niece, only family I got left. I heard 'em talking at the diner about a woman running the show. Your ex-wife's daddy, Vincent, he's just the muscle. She's the one calling shots." Jackson's fist clenched, the tattoo flaring with heat. Clara, driven mad by Lily's death, blaming him for choosing duty over their daughter? But masterminding a hunt like this? That was a wound deeper than any bullet. Hank's confession hung heavy, but there was no time to reckon trust. Footsteps echoed down the tunnel, heavy and deliberate. More gangsters, at least a dozen, their shadows dancing on the walls like ghosts. Jackson rigged a trap using a loose stalactite and some wire from his saddlebag, a trick from his CIA days. "Move quiet," he whispered, leading Hank deeper into the caves. The trap triggered behind him, a low rumble as the stalactite crashed, followed by shouts and the crunch of rock taking out a few pursuers. But the rest kept coming, their flashlights slicing through the dark like hounds on a scent. The tunnel opened into a wide cavern, moonlight spilling through a jagged hole in the ceiling, painting the floor silver. Jackson spotted an old mining cart, rusted but sturdy, and an idea sparked. He shoved it toward the tunnel entrance, blocking the path, buying time. "Hank, you with me or not?" he asked, eyes hard. Hank nodded, gripping his shotgun. "I owe you, Jackson. Let's wrangle these fools." They slipped out a side passage, emerging into a meadow clearing ringed by pines and cliffs, the perfect stage for a final stand. Jackson's chopper waited behind a boulder, its chrome glinting like a promise of freedom. The gangsters poured into the clearing, a swarm of 50 men, their rifles catching the moonlight. Vincent, Clara's father, strode at the front, his gray hair slicked back, eyes black as coal. "You're a dead man, Ryder," he spat, his voice echoing off the peaks. "You broke her, and now she's breaking you." Jackson stood tall, revolver in one hand, the data chip in the other. "Reckon you're just the dog on her leash, Vincent," he shot back. "Where's Clara?" The old gangster laughed, but before he could answer, a figure stepped from the shadows of the pines. Clara, her face gaunt, eyes burning with a madness that stopped Jackson's heart cold. "You chose wrong, Jackson," Clara said, her voice like frost on a grave, pistol steady in her trembling hand. "Lily was 19, full of life, and you let her die for your damn mission." The phoenix tattoo flared, guilt crashing over Jackson like a rock slide. She was right. He'd chosen the country over their daughter, and the weight of it had crushed them both. "I see her face every night, Clara," he said, voice breaking. "I failed her, but killing me won't bring her back." Clara's eyes glistened with tears, her gun wavering as the gangsters waited for her command. Vincent roared, "End him, Clara!" and lunged, drawing a blade. Jackson was faster, dodging and landing a kick that sent the old man sprawling out cold in the dirt. The army charged, a wave of chaos, bullets flying, pines echoing with shouts. Jackson and Hank fought like cornered wolves, using the boulder for cover. Jackson's revolver cracked, dropping thugs with SEAL precision, while Hank's shotgun boomed, scattering more. "Y'all picked the wrong valley," Hank hollered, reloading with a grin despite the odds. Jackson's chopper roared to life, its headlight blazing as he used it to ram a group of attackers, scattering them like leaves. Clara stood frozen, her pistol dropping to her side. Jackson fought his way to her, dodging a hail of bullets, his leather jacket torn but his resolve iron. "Clara, listen," he pleaded, close enough to see the pain in her eyes. "I'd give anything to take it back. Let's end this together." She shook her head, tears streaming. "Too late, Jackson. She's gone." A stray bullet grazed her arm and she stumbled, blood seeping through her sleeve. She turned, limping into the fog, her figure fading into the pines. Jackson didn't chase. Her choice was made and his heart broke all over again. The remaining gangsters scattered, their will broken without Vincent or Clara. Jackson stood in the clearing, breathing heavy, the data chip still in his pocket. He pulled it out, its surface catching the moonlight. The phoenix tattoo glowed faintly, like it knew the fight wasn't over. A crumpled note had fallen from Clara's gun, scrawled in her hand. "Lily's truth ain't buried yet. Find the shadow behind the mission." What did she know? Was there more to their daughter's death? Someone else pulling strings back then? Jackson mounted his chopper, the engine's roar a low hymn in the quiet valley. Hank clapped his shoulder, guilt in his eyes, but loyalty proven. "You did what you could, buddy," Hank said. Jackson nodded, staring at the peaks. "Reckon I ain't done yet." He rode off, the road winding toward his cabin, the weight of redemption lighter but not gone. Out here in the Bitterroot Peaks, betrayal cuts deeper than any blade. But redemption can heal even the oldest wounds. Jackson found a piece of peace, but them shadows ain't gone for good. Y'all hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, 'cause these mountains got more tales to tell. And you won't want to miss what's fixin' to come.